Hi there! Hope that you've had a great week so far. I can't believe it's Friday. I mean, time is flying. But today, I'm going to end the week on a very positive chat, and I'm very excited to do this chat. And I'm traveling, I'm crossing overseas to meet with Carrie Bobb and to discover everything that has to do with her services, her team, her company, and the exciting projects that she has done so far. So we're going to discover something very exciting. So Carrie Bobb lives and breathes brand strategy, and she mixes both digital and physical strategies in the real estate space. And this is really important in today's retail world. She and her team leverage the strength of both platforms to help companies create an immersive customer experience, yet another very important variable in the retail world today. And the team provides expert leasing, merchandising, and other services in order to create that experience to the customer. So I'm going to invite Carrie in, and you're going to chit chat about all of these things, exciting things. Going to be able to tell me all of this in detail. So I have connected with Carrie, and I'll be waiting for the signal to allow us to connect. Hey! Hi, Carrie. How are you? I hope that we're not going to have technical difficulties today. I'm going to wait a little second so that the connection stabilizes. Hi, Carrie. I think that we cannot hear you. Maybe there's a problem with the phones. Carrie, can you hear me? So I'm going to let Carrie out, and then I'm going to ask her to join again. And with that, I will invite everyone to stay with me in order for us to have this exciting chat with Carrie. So I'm going to try to connect again, and I hope that we're not going to have technical difficulties. So as I was saying, that we're going to discover with Carrie everything that has to do with the retail leasing and the expertise that the team puts in order to create that customer experience. So I'm going to re-invite Carrie. And we're going to go through this live. So I'm asking Carrie to join me again. And I hope that we're going to connect. I think that we're going to wait a little minute, as it seems that we're having a little technical difficulty with the connections. So I'm waiting again for Carrie to jump on board in order to get on with the conversation. And I was just saying that Carrie specializes in the retail estate spaces, and she and her team create strategies for brand in order to get the most out of their customer experiences through the digital and the physical world. And this is an important variable, as I was saying, in today's retail environment, as experience has become a great way to connect with customers and to relieve them from boredom. We all know that online retailing has taken a major chunk of, hello, Carrie.
Hi, thank you for
Yay!
hanging in there with me. I'm
I
so
have
sorry.
I have been talking on your behalf.
Oh, geez, I feel so bad to put you in that spot. I was so excited to hop in. Thank you so much for
We're
having me.
going to do the hopping in once again. I'm going to welcome you. I'm very excited to have you with me today.
Are you kidding? I am so excited to be talking to you. I feel so fabulous talking to somebody in Paris right now.
Yes! Thank you so much, Carrie. Without further ado, tell us about you. Tell us everything about Carrie Bob and Co.
Oh my gosh, you are so great. Well, first of all, so I've been in commercial real estate for 18 years, and my partner, Emily, is the same. And she worked on the landlord side. I don't know if I cut out, but I've been doing retail commercial brokerage for 18 years. Emily's been doing it about the same, and she worked for in-house for a landlord. And we specialize in working with landlords and tenants. And then recently, is our connection okay?
Yes, sometimes it takes time, but we're fine.
How are we doing on a connection?
Better. Now we're troubleshooting. I think I can hear you, but the connection is taking a little bit
Okay,
longer
are we there?
than usual. Yeah.
Are we
Yes.
back?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, I was just bragging about Emily. I'm going to sit outside and see if I can get better connection. But I was just bragging about Emily on my team. Emily worked in-house for a retail landlord for 17 years. And so it's just a really fun partnership. And then we recently, we had a little side hustle that's turned into like a hustle where we started helping landlords with their social media and releasing through social media. And that's become a really, really important component of our business, working with influencers, helping them reach out to brands through Instagram and things like that.
Yeah. So social media has helped you regain some interest in some places that were forgotten, some spaces that weren't taking a lot of attention from customers anymore. That's right?
Yeah, so we use the platform for in a few different ways. So we use the
It's
platform
okay.
in a few different ways. We use
Yeah.
it one through the feed like a normal social media company would, but the real power in how we use it, you don't really see it because it's through direct messaging, it's through targeting influencers.
It's okay. Bear with us. I hope that it's not taking long. Carrie, I need you to go back to the ways you were connecting with clients through social media.
Okay, so we use it, we run it through like a normal social media feed, like a social media company would, but we're using it with leasing in mind. So
Yeah.
we're making sure we're hitting the community, of course, but then our existing tenants and then prospective tenants. And so, like, as potential retailers are using Instagram as a search engine, they're
Yeah.
looking at properties on Instagram before Google. And so we want to make sure the messages that are conveyed through the feed are hitting the points that we would hit on a leasing
Yes.
aspect as well. Like you're hitting the community, but you're also hitting the high notes of what prospective tenants are going to want to see. And
Yeah,
so we're doing,
and you're making the spaces look more exciting and more appealing, and this is helping you with the search better, right?
oh, it's so, well, I mean, we're the core audience for a lot of our landlords, right? Because women do 85% of all consumer purchases. And so we're building it like what we would want to see as a consumer. You want to see about the community, businesses for good, how the landlord is integrating all the different experiences, the different business purposes, the way people are doing their business. All of that we love and we're passionate about. I know you are too. We've DM'd about that. And so it's just really fun to tie it all in, and all of that impacts leasing, right? Like all of that matters to future tenants.
Yeah, and let's talk about this excitement that you're creating through the actions that you are pulling. I mean, you have found a way to reanimate, to reinject a lot of excitement into something that was known as very stiff. I mean, leasing is
Oh,
something very
you're the
serious.
best. Oh my gosh, you're so great. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
We're
So
just
tell us.
doing it. We're just doing it like what we would want to see. I mean, Emily, Claire, and I are just having a blast. We're listening to consumers and hearing what they want and what matters to them. And a lot of times it's the same things that matter to us. And then
Mhm.
we're just delivering it in a story form through pictures, like mostly through Instagram, but we're using Facebook and LinkedIn too. It makes our job so much more fun because, like, to your point, like, especially when we've been doing it as long as we have,
Yeah,
it gets boring and stale. And so
yeah.
we're just trying to do it a little bit differently. And with each success, sometimes it surprises us too. And we just keep doubling down. And it's super fun. It's fun because of the people that I'm working with. Claire and Emily are amazing. But then we get to work with people like you. Like, I never, ever would have ever thought that I'd be doing an Instagram live with someone in Paris.
Oh
Like,
my
this
God,
is
thank
just
you.
the coolest thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
So,
have a couple questions for you too, if
yeah,
that's
of
okay.
course.
Because you're covering a lot of ground with your Instagram lives. What are some of
Yeah.
the coolest things that have come out of it for you?
I mean, I have tried always to keep pop-up retailing or ephemeral retailing at the heart of what I'm trying to offer to viewers on this page, and I have been convinced lately through my research, as I do a lot of academic research as well, that pop-up retailing goes beyond the pop-up store. It's a whole
Hmm.
ecosystem. And I was trying to, through this page, get in touch with as many people as possible to see how creative we can get into offering brands that opportunity to go and pop up. And
Hmm.
we know that commercial properties and estates now have become more available, yes, but we have also to approach them in a creative way. And this is how I got on your page. And
I
I
love
was really
it.
in, yeah, I mean, I really am interested by the approach that you describe your work, because very few today think of real estate in terms of developing an experience and reanimating spaces and studying things and giving insights in order to give value to that estate. And that's what I believe you are doing with your team, and it's really interesting. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're doing coming from it from an analytical standpoint too, because it's so important what consumers want. And one of the really interesting things that we've found just like studying most just in the US, some of the biggest retail projects here and going through the feeds and seeing what people are saying and commenting, everyone's talking about the experiences, which is still
Right,
extremely valuable. But we
right.
noticed that, especially in light of everything that's happening with COVID and then some of the movements that are happening, at least here, but globally, that purpose is actually becoming more important to consumers than experience. And
Yeah.
that brings so much meaning to our work and like the work that you're doing. And I love it. I love the way you're going about your business too. So mad respect for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy we're doing this also overseas, because it shows that cultures are really important,
Hmm.
especially in terms of retail, because we consume differently, even though we are all related to retail, but we might have different perspectives also in terms of what we want from the retail scene. And
Right.
today we are thinking globally. As you said, we want this experience and we want this purpose. And it's really important to have that visit do something different for us today, because we can buy everything online. It's at our doorsteps. I think it might become even automated by clicking, buying, and receiving at
Right.
home. So we need that extra vibe. And I
Yeah.
really would like to know more about how you go on and process a project, like from point A to point Z, because you have been injecting lots of services to make your projects happen, right?
Yeah. Well, things are really different now with COVID, but before COVID, the way we were using social media and influencers was if we had a large development, there was a large local project here that I did where I had all of the credit tenant lineup. So like the Soul Cycle and Dry Bars and Sephora. And we were trying to find the like character local tenants, the one-off. And one of the most interesting case studies that I've experienced in my career was I went to a local boutique owner who I had done 2 of her storefront leases, and she has 120,000 followers on Instagram. And so
Yeah.
I just told her, I said, hey, when you're going up to LA and San Diego's not like LA. It's a big small town, so it's a little bit different vibe. So I was like, when you go up to LA and you're going to these fashion shows and meeting all these fabulous people and retailers, if you bring me a tenant who I've not heard of and actually signs a lease, I'll pay you $5,000, like a finder's fee from my brokerage commission.
Yeah.
And it was basically like a referral fee.
Yeah.
And I ended up paying her $40,000 at this project because she was just bringing me these amazing tenants. And these
Wow.
are like, they're really good high-end retailer.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
expensive, but like affordable. Some are expensive, but like luxury, like in that Lululemon Soul Cycle lineup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the most profound things that we learned from that is that influencers know more about the up and coming retail brands than any retail broker
Mm.
would. And so we're building this team of influencers and treating them like brokers with like referral fees if deals get done. And there's a scale for whether it's a pop-up leasing or a longer term lease. And all they have to
Yeah.
do is like bring us the tenants. And we can do
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
collaborate on social media for the landlord. We can do a cart, like a flower cart for a day, or we could do a 30-day pop-up. There's so much that you can do. And when you start engaging the influencers, it makes our job as brokers a little bit easier and a lot more exciting. It's super fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you have created like a new business model for the brokerage. I mean,
We hope
you
so.
it's a win-win situation for both, and people, as you said, are more confident and maybe more comfortable with an influencer, as they might feel that she or he are part of their lives. They look up to them, they share the same interests, etc., and coming from them would be better, I think, than coming from another side. Really interesting. So,
Yeah.
are there, for example, are there any like success stories that you would share with us about 2 or 3 brands like Lululemon, for example, that you have brought into town?
So, well, through Instagram, not yet, but how we're using it to, because those people, the real estate decision makers aren't behind the Instagram handle. And so how we're hitting that audience through Instagram are things like representing a landlord. If they want to get Lululemon to the project, we will include it in the feed through like a giveaway, for example.
Mm,
So
mm,
we'll partner with a local influencer or another company here. We'll do some sort of Lululemon giveaway. We'll
yeah,
boost the post, and then we will turn the analytics that we get from that giveaway. So we can say it reached 50,000 people in this trade area, and this was the reaction. Here are some of the comments. And so we're turning it into a leasing report. So then the broker, whether we're leasing it or if we're partnering with a brokerage team, we can give it to the broker. And then it's more of a soft call to Lululemon where they can say, hey, your customers here, look at the results from this giveaway we just did.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a proof source. And to your earlier point about brokers can be or come across super salesy and not trustworthy almost. And so we're trying really hard to break down those barriers and not sell, but just give proof points of we understand your customer.
Through these studies, I think would give you a lot of notoriety, and I would say that you are not only serious, but you know what you're doing, and you have lots of facts on your hands. And this is really reassuring. Yeah. And the event normally will grab a lot of attention from people who are around town. How do people today react to these types of events? Are they witnessing something new or something different?
We found a lot of people don't understand yet fully how we're trying to change the business model. People either think of us as pure brokers, or they think of us as truly a social media company. And so we're in this space right now that we're trying to show people that we're the conduit between the two. And we're really building sales funnels for commercial real estate through social media. And we can wear a couple different hats. And I do think that's where you're going to see retail brokerage going, is not just this space. This is the space that we love to play in, and it's really important to us. But I think you're going to see some of the most talented retail brokers start offering different kinds of services that make them really good at what they do, and to complement the transaction, because there's just so much happening in our space that the fees are getting compressed. There's not as many deals. They're doing pop-up deals, so you don't have the term to get the. So you're going to see, I think, the most like what you're doing, exactly what you're doing. This is your space. You found a different niche, and so getting landlords, like you can leverage your platform to help landlords in this space. And I think you're going to see the most talented people doing stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think, as you said, maybe people today are seeing lots of concepts, but they need a lot of time to be educated about what we are offering them as novelty. And I mean, the new concept might be exciting, but even going and trying that new concept would entice the customer to think of things in a different way, and to be able to, I think, give up from his time to go and try out. Maybe, would you think that the age group, I think we're cutting, oh my God. I'll wait for, yeah, we're back. I was asking if you think that the age group or the segment of the people who are living around you or in the area are older or are not within the millennial or Gen. Yeah. And do you think, so I'll repeat it, do you think that the age group in the area where you are operating is rather elevated, and people are not really acceptive of new or different ways of doing things? Do you think that if you're in touch with a younger audience, like millennials, for example, would you have another reaction from customers?
Millennials get it so intuitively that it's been really interesting, and they instantly understand what we're doing. I think it's a lot of the decision makers in our industry who are older, who they themselves might not be on Instagram, where there's a disconnect. But it's really important to make sure that they understand, at least they understand the disconnect, and we can help build that bridge, because that's where a lot of our problems is in that disconnect. And so we feel really lucky to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. But it's really interesting because even like we have a couple college interns that were over for one of our photo shoots, and we were just describing what we were doing in a video, and they got it. Like they knew totally what we were doing. But
Yeah.
when you sit in front of landlords who've been doing this for 30 years, it's really hard to adapt the way you think about things when you've been doing it the same way. And so they are for the most part, we've seen people really intrigued. They know that that's probably the way it's going, but they might not get it.
Yeah.
And so it's always been really well received. But I think to answer your age question, that's kind of the difference that we're seeing. And we're trying to use LinkedIn to speak to the older,
Yeah.
seasoned real estate professionals
Yeah. Yeah.
in that way.
Yes.
So I don't know. I still think that we've got a lot to do for people, but it's really encouraging to me that you could be where you are and get what we're trying to do, because it's hard to explain it a
Yes.
lot of times
Yes.
when you're just looking. Yeah.
As you said, we might be in that age group or around these things that have happened, and everything has been incubating in our minds to the extent that we feel that we know it's normal, or we know that this is how things could be. I mean, you should just jump in on that bandwagon or just stay there. And we'll see how things are going to be in the coming 5 or 10 years, because definitely retail is shaking, and it will always be physical or digital, but it's going to be, I think, in a different way, done in a different way. Carrie, let's talk a little bit about strategies, communication strategies, and
Yeah.
how you blend these two words, because you are in a place where you're blending or you're meshing the distances between real estate, social media, and communications, and events that you're applying. So how you're doing that?
It's real. So Emily and I both have a degree in journalism, which I don't think either of us thought we would be using as much as we are. But it's just some of it's intuitive, and then some of it's really hard, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
To say something really thoughtfully and concisely, it can be hard, but we're taking the time to do it, and that's probably the biggest differentiator, is that our business moves so fast, and you're trying to turn paper around really fast, and we're trying to be really mindful of taking time and explaining things concisely in a meaningful way, and that's really all it is. I don't think we're necessarily better than doing things better than anybody else in that regard, but we're just taking the time to try and
yeah.
do it right.
So you're taking project by project, case by case, and you're thinking it as it should I should say maybe organic habitat, and see how the project goes. I think
Well,
that,
like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like you were saying, how you're so into like studying the analytics and the why behind why people are purchasing. We do that for each asset. And so
yeah,
we really dig into who the core customer is, who the secondary customer is, what their needs are, what they're looking for. And we're trying to hit those high notes with them. And so I think that's what makes you good. I think that's what makes a lot of people in our industry good, is that they can recognize those needs and try to
yeah.
hit those points.
Do you think that providing analytics, and this is out of pure curiosity, do you think when you provide a customer in front of you with these insights, with these really rich data, would you think that he would change his opinion, or he would be more intrigued or inclined into taking action? Or do you find that some people still, with valuable data, would prefer to stay away or not react to the offering that you are putting in front?
I I get all excited about the projects that we're working on, and I genuinely love them. And so I want everybody to love them. And I find when I provide the analytics, it kind of brings down a barrier of me trying to convince you of anything. Because if you don't want to be here, it's okay. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I genuinely love what we're working on. But the analytics is a way to break down the barriers, so then you can tell them why. This is this is what is so special about it. And then
Yeah.
you get to tell them why, which is really fun.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, really interesting. I'm waving at Emily because I think she's on on the
Emily should
session
have
with
been
us.
on here with me.
Okay, because I have seen
Next
some
time.
Emily's passing. Hi,
And
Emily. If you
Jeannie, and hi, Jeannie.
and hi,
Jeannie's a
Jeannie.
friend. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about pop-up stores since we have to do a little link about the importance of pop-up stores.
Yeah.
In your line of business, I think you have worked a lot with stores that have been there, fixed retail, traditional commerce, etc. So, what about pop-up stores in today's real estate world? Is it a menace or is it really helping landlords rethink their statuses?
I think they can be a pain to manage 100%. There's no denying that, but I don't think we can get around it in the state that we're in. I think it's got to become part of a landlord's strategy, if only for occupancy, trying to keep the occupancy rates up. And
Yeah,
where I think we're kind of having fun with it is trying to approach it a little bit differently. Like if they're letting us run their social media handle, we can just collaborate with brands. And so it's not like you're trying to get someone to commit to a pop-up to permanent out of the gate, where because it can be really intimidating when a broker approaches you and you don't want to sign a 5-year lease and they're like, okay, we'll just do a pop-up, and that there's already that guard up. But if you
yeah,
can do it in the way of like collaboration, that's a lot easier to wrap your head around. And then
yeah.
I really love leveraging platforms like Etsy and Pinterest, where Etsy you can, sorry, I keep moving the phone. My arm keeps getting tired from holding it. But like with Etsy, you can look up local shop owners, and see who's nearby. And so I think that gives them an opportunity to have a storefront, especially with the holidays around the corner,
Yeah.
that where they might normally, and then it's also a novelty for the landlords too. So I just think we can't get around it. So you might as well try to figure out how to do it the coolest and best way you can and make it an advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's go back to communications and social media. Do you think today that these are statements? Let's get into doing statements. Do you think that social media is part of today's brand, retail, and distribution strategies?
Oh, 100%. I think you have to be leasing off of your social media platform. Like, it's the foundation for how you're going to build your leasing strategy. You can have a really great project and have beautiful renderings and have a great merchandising plan put together. But if your feed, it's worse to have a bad feed than to have no feed at all.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of bad feeds out there. And so it makes it really hard to try and attract some of these
yeah,
desirable brands when you've got really bad that you're
yeah,
putting on out there. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
only emphasizes the disconnect between the landlord and the retailer. When the retailers are like crushing it on social media, it just shows how disconnected they are. And so it's extremely important to be able to
yeah.
lease off of it. Yeah.
Which leads us to the next question. To what extent content of social media becomes important? I mean, you personally pay a lot of attention on content, and even you make it look beautiful by choosing fonts and colors that
Oh,
that
thank
match.
you.
I mean, really, you pay attention to that because you want to make your content speak. So how about developing a good and strong content in today's brands
Yeah.
on social media?
So the opportunity for landlords that we see on their social media feeds, even some of the best projects that we've looked at, they're just missing. The biggest miss is that they're only using it to talk about their tenants and their project. So it's
Yeah,
like every single post is an ad for Jamba Juice, the yoga tenant. What it just is like, even if it looks pretty, the content is just like one ad after another, which you're not going to keep your audience engaged. Like the secret to anything is just keeping your engagement rate high. And so you want to hit the things that your consumer cares about. And they might care about what's happening in the community for kids. Like if there's something happening at the local library, highlight that. Highlight the business owners and make it personal to those people and their families and what they're doing, and showcase the people who are the landscapers at the project or whatever. Just make it seem so personal that the community feels like they know, like next time they're there and they see the landscaper, they know the landscaper. And so it's just like making it more personal than come spend your money at our project. You know,
personal and relatable, of course. Relatable. We have spoken about these distances that we're sharing. Do you think that the way of doing business between the States and major European capitals are different? Do you think that?
I've never been to Europe, as embarrassing as that is. I want to go so bad. So I'm like the worst person to answer that question. But I do have a question for you. You should tell me. Okay, you tell me that. And then Emily and I were talking before I jumped on with you. And I was like, we have to ask her questions. She lives in Paris. Like, I want to know everything. And so I've got another question for you, but I want you to answer your own question because I want to know.
I mean, I wouldn't also, to be very honest, I wouldn't be in a position to say that because I am less relatable to the real estate business as is. But from what I have been seeing and from the researches that I have been doing, I have seen that, yes, the approach to real estate maybe is more direct in the US than it is in Europe. It is true that landlords do hold on to their properties and want to make the best out of it. But the crisis, I think, is everywhere and it's pushing people to change their ways of thinking. So even in France, we have always been talking about leases that go 3, 6, or 9 years, and you get it, you are stuck with it for 3 years. And yet we are seeing that brands are moving around the leases, trying to do pop-up stores for longer periods to stay there for less than 3 years, but more than 1 year, which is changing also the dynamics of how we're doing business, how we're testing, and giving brands the liberty to move around. So that's what I can tell you what's happening around me.
Okay, so here's a question from Emily, which I thought was really good.
Yes.
What is the US brand, like retailer, that moves the needle for you guys? Like if you had whatever brand it is, part of your project, it's a really big deal. What's the one brand you guys are watching?
I mean, I think this is a perception also of different types of customers. I'm a very peculiar type of customer, but French people do love French brands, and they love brands that have a particular character that is less, if I might choose the word, maybe strong or aggressive. I mean, Abercrombie and Fitch has been into France and into Paris, but it speaks to smaller audiences. Gap, we have seen it everywhere in Paris. And even I've been told before coming and moving into the city that you had even sometimes 3 or 4 stores on the same commercial street. Yet last year, around September, we have seen that less and less Gaps are around the corner. Is it people coming closer to local, to things that relate more to their culture? Or is it that people want to change brands that are formatted, such as Forever 21 maybe, or Divided, or Superdry, etc.? I'm talking maybe about American and some other brands.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's really interesting. Sarah, I'm with you on Lululemon. I love them too. I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah. And this is a dear friend, Sarah. I wave to you, Sarah, and she's a specialist in social media and the word of mouth, and specifically negative word of mouth. So Sarah,
Victoria's Secret. Sarah, you should check out Third Love. Third Love is a competitor of Victoria's Secret, and they're really good.
Okay.
and
So
lively. Those are like the up
l-
and coming. Victoria's Secret's not as well thought of
up as
anymore.
it was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, this is really important. And let's see how things go because, after all, brands also are changing, and the ethics of brands or their approach to the offering is also changing. And
yeah,
this is
yeah,
becoming more important because, to what extent a brand that has already been there on the market for so long is taking action right here, right now, to answer to the situation or to what people want, because brands do have lots of chargers to think of, and I think they have to
yeah.
think of all the yes, chargers that come along all the changes. So
You know,
yeah,
I was listening to a call. Um, got you on Victoria's Secret. That's, oh,
yeah.
they just got to
Thanks,
Paris. That's so
Sarah.
interesting. Um, so I was on a call recently with the CEO of Lively. They're also a women's undergarment apparel company, lingerie company. And she started online, but then they started opening brick and mortar. And her philosophy was really interesting. She said, you know, if you have 6 to 8 touch points before you actually convert a consumer to a customer, before they actually purchase,
Yeah,
they were going to great lengths on digital through influencers, and they were creating events. Like they realized that their customer loved SoulCycle, succulents, and entrepreneurship. And so they started hosting little events on those topics, and then people wanted to buy their bras. And
yeah,
so they started selling them at these events, and that's how they started opening brick and mortar. But
yeah,
their handle is Wear Lively, and it's a fascinating case study on how. And we've actually taken a lot of our strategies and tactics from uh, from them on
yeah,
how they grew social media into brick and mortar. And I think
yeah,
landlords can utilize that. If landlords had an online brand they wanted to be in their project, and they knew that their customer cared about succulents, entrepreneurship, and soul cycle, they could host some sort of event at the project that's adding value to people, and
yeah.
then it creates a bond with that brand that you
Yes,
understand their
yes,
consumer and
because
you're
it
helping
becomes
them.
really relatable, as you say.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, really interesting. And we have another comment from a design agency, and they're saying that influencers, social media influencers, are taking the market by storm in Europe, and especially everything that relates to e-commerce businesses. And this is a phenomenon that we're seeing here. I mean, just the moment the influencer goes online and starts to explain about an item or a gadget or whatever, you see the sales like striking
right, yeah,
up. And this is really an interesting phenomenon. But on the other hand, you're seeing that it works well with online businesses and not with offline businesses, which is also a really
yeah.
interesting thing to look at. Yeah, so
Yeah,
nice.
we've paid influencers to promote a project, not a lot, just a little bit here and there, and then
Yeah,
we're tapping into that more on how to leverage the larger platforms. But
yeah,
I do think the most meaningful like shout outs and what you're talking about are, at least what we're seeing here, are the influencers that have like 1,000 to 10,000 followers. People like
yeah,
you. Like it's meaningful because it's not just it's not so huge. It's like the people who
yeah,
are following you know they're it's such a dense amount of your true customer
yes,
or your true
yes,
audience.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So
We're talking about a following that shares the same values or
yeah,
look at the same topic in the same way. And it's true because social media browsers might be tempted as well by the number of followers that you have on your page.
right,
And
right.
this is always a dilemma of making people understand that sometimes a lot might not help you in engaging better and so on. So yeah,
I think the best answer for that is to be genuine and authentic. Like if you have a platform that gives you a lot of followers because they like what you're saying, then that's great. I think a lot of followers is good too, but it has to be authentic and real followers.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carrie, I'm going to move to a couple of questions because I'm always afraid that we are cut off by Instagram on the
Okay.
60th
This
minute.
has been so great, though. This has been fun.
It
Thank you so
is.
much.
Thank you. Super great. Um, what are your tips or the advice that you can give to brands, first of all, to if they wish to engage in temporary retail or pop-up projects?
I would say brands have a lot of leverage right now in the US for pop-up. I think a lot of landlords are going to be open to that kind of thing. And so if they want to test the market with a brick and mortar, this is a great opportunity for them through this holiday season. Even though it might be scary with COVID, I think this is a great real estate opportunity for them to just test it and see um, if their customers there, if it's going to work, rather than trying to sign on for a longer lease.
Yes.
And yeah, as far as tips for brands to do that, I don't think it's that hard if they just reach out to or just go to the website and email somebody.
Oh,
And
no,
I
I
think
hope
a
that.
lot of, oh, am I here?
Yes,
Am I
yes,
back?
you're back. Yes.
Okay.
So
I
we're
just
saying
think
that
that they can,
it's not hard
it
for
wouldn't
brands.
take to find the right person there. If they just sent an email or sent a message through Instagram, they should be able to find the right person to help them um, through pop-ups.
Great. And the last question that I would ask you is that would you like to say anything or add on anything that we haven't discussed here, anything that is important to highlight to all those who are with us now?
I don't think so. I think we covered it. This has been so great. I've had such a great time. Thanks for hanging in there with me with the Wi-Fi and everything. You guys are all, and I love all the comments and everything. You guys, thank you so, so much. This has been really nice.
Thank you. We will take the opportunity to invite you to come to France because you have to soon.
Okay, Emily, will you join me?
With
I'll
Emily,
make
yes.
Emily come.
You should. I mean, first of all, just to tour around the city, eat some good food, and show
If we
you the
must, we
retail
must.
scene. Yes.
I will take you up on that for sure because I consider you like a pro tour guide that'll show me all the best retail, not just like the
Thank
ones that
you.
everybody goes to, the local stuff.
Thank you.
That
Yes,
would
we
be
will do
amazing.
that. Thank you. And thank you, Emily. I'm going to invite
Thank you,
everyone.
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah, as well. I'm going to invite everyone to tune into Instagram TV because I'm going to share this chat on IGTV and later on YouTube. And I'm inviting everyone to check your page and to DM you if they have any questions. And I hope that we are going to be able to do another session soon, hopefully, and to
That would
talk
be
about
amazing.
more things. Thank you so
That'd
much,
be
Carrie.
great. Thank you, Galia.
Thank you and have a great weekend.
You too.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.